Okay, let's get straight into how to install the G13 driver for Linux. After download, you should find these two files in your download folder or wherever you saved them. This is just the checksum file that verifies that this downloaded package was not tampered with. How you do that is you can go right click, open terminal here, or you open a terminal and navigate to whichever directory you have those two files in. Then I copied and pasted this. You punch in this command SHA-256 sum space -c space linux -g13 driver.tar.gz.sha256. So when you hit enter and it says OK, that means it's OK. You don't have to do that, but it's good practice. So then you can do here right click, extract archive here. There it is. Go into the folder and then you find all kinds of stuff. If you're into it, you can look through all the codes here, and I also have the README that I made for this package, which tells you what it is and also gives you some more information about all the needed dependencies and what the dependencies should be on different distributions. But I only tested this, as it says here, on Ubuntu. That's a mistake. That must be 2404. Oh, no, that's right. 2404 plus or Debian 12 plus. Tested on Ubuntu 2404. It is correct. Yeah, so that's the README. Then there's also the old README from Lord Booker, where he explains what he did with the driver. I assume Lord Booker is German because all of his screenshots are in German. Then there's also a quick install guide, which essentially gives you two ways to install. Method 1, the automated script. That's what we're going to do here. How you open the terminal, it actually explains it here, and how to run the command. So then there's also the changelog. It mentions bug fixes and all kinds of stuff that I did to get this working. And when I say I always mean I did that with the help of Anthropic's Claude. Always remember, I am not a programmer and I have no tech background, but I somehow figured out how to make this work. We're now gonna go right click, once again, open terminal here. You have to be within this folder where this install script lives. And then you just go -install.sh. Go make that bigger. And that should run and pull in all the dependencies you need and install all the drivers and gives you actually on-screen instructions what you have to do when you have to do it. At this point, I already plugged in my G13. You don't necessarily have to. You can do that before reboot. But we get to that. So, enter. So, since you need sudo in order to change the udev commands, that is something the driver needs in order to put your user into the group that is actually able to use this device together with the driver. So you have to give this script your password and hit enter. And that runs for a while. It's quite possible that I have already certain dependencies pre-installed, but I try to wipe everything prior to this demo. Yeah, and here you can see this up here. It started building the driver, and then it says driver compiled, and then here it starts building the GUI, and then it says build success, and then it installs the GUI and so on and so forth, and then it says installation complete. So you must reboot your system for everything to work properly. It is possible that you get away with log out and log in, but in my case it didn't work and I didn't get the tray icon here. It didn't load properly. I don't know why. So I recommend rebooting. And then also this would be the point where you plug in your G13. I will come back after reboot. Okay, here we are back now. And as soon as you reboot, you should see this icon down here, which is your driver. And if the driver is working, you can actually see that on your G13. In my case, the screen backlighting switched from white to blue. I don't know if that is on different models, maybe a different color, but in my case it is blue. So you also can go here now, and if you search for G13, there should be this entry. But technically you don't really need that. You can go here, and then you have quit driver. You don't want to do that. And you need configure G13. That should start the GUI. And that looks like this. So now there's something that might be a bit confusing in the README. It still refers to the profiles as M1, M2, M3, M4. But these buttons are not used for the profiles in the Linux version of this device. These buttons are used for the profiles. For the simple reason, this screen in the original LGS software from Logitech gaming software, you could, as you can see here, show your character statistics like strength, agility, and so on and so forth. You could also upload certain widgets like game time and a stopwatch, I think, and all kinds of other stuff. And these buttons were determined the on-screen menu. You do not have an on-screen menu here. Therefore, these buttons are now for the profiles. And if you watch down here, when I go on one of those buttons, it tells you M1, configuration, bindings, -0. This is -1, -2, -3. There's something else. And I left it this way because I didn't want to change the driver too much because I was afraid of messing something up after I got it working. There is a mismatch between the silk screen on your keys and what it is in the driver and in the GUI software. As you watch here, if you watch down here again, G1 is actually G0 in the software. And G2 is G1 and so on and so forth. The same like here. M1 is actually binding 0 and M4 is bindings 3. But no worries, the software takes care of that. But I had to figure out how that actually works. Anyhow, now to the setup. You choose one of the profiles, click this one, and then you choose a button you want to configure. It doesn't matter. Let's say we now use, I don't know, what do we use? G8. Okay. G8 is currently set to pass through for the letter Q. So if you push G8, it would print the letter Q. But what I do first, before I continue with this, I change the background color of the screen. And that is done here, screen color. You click that, and then I choose, let's say, I usually choose red for this one is now red. See, if I now click on the second profile, this is still white, unchanged. So red. Then we go to G8. And then you can either way leave the pass-through, or you can choose a macro here from the predetermined slots, which is, that's also, it starts with 0. So first macro is 0 to 15. So there are 16 predetermined slots, 200 in total, 0 to 199. So you choose a free slot, let's say 20. And then originally this did not unlock. But I now changed it so that this is unlocked, so you can actually record your own macros. And that goes as followed. Actually, you don't have to choose the empty one. I will show you now, because I changed that. Before you had to do that manually, but now you can just go here and choose, let's go back to slot 20, and then it synchronizes this to 20. Because if this is set to something else, this predetermined list always overrides whatever you program down here. That was a problem I had to deal with, so therefore now auto synchronization. And then you determine if you need delays or not. I do not need delays because I use this for managing shortcut, not for playing video games. I cannot but I have no video games where I would use that, and I don't play many video games. That is something you guys have to then program yourselves. So I uncheck this, still ID 20. Then you go to, so we're on G8, right? Clear and record, and then you just record your macro. In this case, we're gonna go with something easy. Control A. Stop recording. I see. I press down Control A and I let go Control A. And this is where you can then play around with add a delay. Like you could choose this and then add delay, how many milliseconds, and so on and so forth. But we don't need that for this example. You can also give it a name here. I won't. So, and then you go to save current profile. So, it saved it to profile M1. Once again, these buttons up here, not these ones. M1, M2, M3, M4. Click OK. And now profile is saved successfully. And you always have to restart the driver in order for the changes to actually apply. You can do no, and then you go down here, quit driver, and then you restart the driver manually, or you do it automatically. The moment I hit yes to apply changes, this screen should switch to red. Ba-boom, red. Because this driver quickly quit, and then it started again. So now let's go and create a new text file, just for demonstration purposes. Sure. And we go completely irrelevant now. And if you remember, we set up button G8 for Control A, right? So watch G8 and bam. There we go. Sometimes there's a delay on the first push. It doesn't work. I don't know why that is, but it's not always, it's sometimes. Maybe there's a delay in there or some restart issue, but now it works. There you go. Yeah, there you have it. G13 working under Linux. No, discard. There's something else I want to show you in the GUI. Configure. These buttons and the direction on the joystick, you can set that up separately. It doesn't have to be up, down, left, right. It doesn't have to be WASD or whatnot. I'm not certain if you can actually set these up to left click and right click? I think not, at least not in this GUI, because this macro thing does not read mouse inputs. Inputs only keyboard ones. But there is something else. If you go to settings and you go to input devices, wherever that is now, down here, you see that there is now a game controller. Because how this driver there works, it actually shows the little stick down here. It sends that as a joystick. I see there it says G13. I personally have not played around with calibrate and these axes and how this works, so I can't tell you. That's something for you guys to figure out. If it doesn't work, maybe someone who is of a higher pay grade and actually knows what he is doing when it comes to programming can fix that. Yeah. I hope you G13 users out there have fun, and I hope I could help a little bit to make this experience less awful. Have a nice day.